What's happening, people, and welcome to a lovely Friday night edition of Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. I am not Scarfey. I am Kallum as usual. Harry's got the night off, so he gets to have a nice break. He's brought me and Lewis in as his co-hosts to take the banner for another night of discussing and previewing Premier League games and reviewing last week's games as well. So, as always, I'm joined by an amazing panel. So, I pretty much already introduced him, but Lewis, thanks for joining me as always, mate. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for joining me as well. And got brilliant guests on as always. But no, I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for hosting.
Lovely stuff. And Barney, obviously one of my regulars this year. Thank you for giving up your Friday night to join us, mate. How you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. Good to see you all and looking forward to having a chat with you all tonight.
Lovely stuff. And Dan, down in the bottom left-hand corner, it's good to have you on again, mate. I know me and you love our discussions this season, so let's hope for another one. So how you doing?
Yeah, I'm ready, mate. I've got the boxing gloves on, ready to take you on tonight. Interesting to see where it goes and what we've got to talk about. Should be fun. Should be a good listen. Always is when we go head to head.
Lovely stuff. Works for me, mate. And Tony, obviously you've got your new branding on your channel since last time we had you on, mate. But it's great to have you here. So how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely great, mate. And it's great to be on 9 in a row at the minute. So yeah, absolutely fantastic at the minute, and everything's flying, isn't it?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Unfortunately, I think a couple of our teams, all from the panel tonight, are included in that 9-game run. So we will keep that quiet, but I think we had to get it out there. Obviously, good evening to everyone in the chat. David Clark, as always, good to see you, mate, and welcome. It's great to have you on. Obviously, good evening to everyone else who's watching. So don't forget to get your questions and we will be happy to answer them tonight. So I think it'd be a great start if we go back to last week. We'll go through all the games because I think there was some definite big results that have had a impact on the table. So if we go straight into a game that I think did have high hopes and obviously did entertain a lot of neutrals as well. So we're going to go to West London with Brentford versus City, and that did end 2-2. Barney, I'm going to come to you being placed in West London for this one, mate. I know Brentford are Fulham's rivals in locality, but I mean, this is a cracking result, isn't it, for them? And especially it doesn't really help City in any shape or form.
Oh, it doesn't. I mean, great goals by Phil Foden, but when Brentford are at home, and I've said this to you for weeks and weeks and to you all, Brentford are an animal at home and you can never write them off. They keep plugging away, and I don't know how many points they've got now throughout the season at home, but it must be literally on par with Liverpool almost. You know, they're right up there, and they battled. You know, they had the shots on target. Neugaard, you know, injury time goal. They seem to have a knack of scoring late on, and Man City seem distracted, and we've had this conversation a lot, Kallum. They just don't seem to have a direction of where they're going. They seem to be all at 6s and 7s at the moment. But you look at the quality Brentford have, and you look at the quality Man City have, and I generally think this is a cracking game. I watched the highlights. In fact, I was working that day, so I was talking to a lot of Brentford fans because I work next to their ground, and yeah, they were delighted with it. You know, they didn't expect that. You know, if you can keep Haaland quiet, you've always got a chance, but Man City can hurt you, and I think Brentford will be delighted with that.
Yeah, no, of course, mate, of course. And Lewis, if I come to you, like Barney said, they've got no direction at City. What it looks like, how their play's going. I think this was some of the first goals that Foden did score this season as well. He hasn't hit the heights that everyone has hoped for him as one of the most crucial players in England, definitely in the England squad as well when it comes to squad lineups. But I mean, City have been busy in the transfer window this week. I mean, they've got the young Kosovan centre-back, isn't it? Or I think from Lens, they've got another centre-back in Reece as well, and Umar Marmoush. So, I mean, do you think this is the City that we all expect, throwing money at a problem to solve it?
I mean, they've been doing that for years, really, haven't they? But I don't know. I think for City, I think at this game, City are actually quite good this game. I mean, that first goal for Phil Foden was vintage Man City. De Bruyne crossing it into Foden to tap in a great finish home. I think City will come alive this second half of the season. I still don't think they will win the league, but I think they'll push Liverpool all the way. And I will not be surprised if Man City go on a very good run of form, because I think this is the point of the season where they string a lovely run together and where Pep Guardiola seems to mesh his tactics together and gets it right. And I think City are going in a right direction, or a better direction than they were a couple months ago. But I think it is still not as good as what we all know of Man City.
No, of course, mate. And Dan, I've got a question from David. Well, more of a statement from David Clark here for you. Man City is an ageing side, and the youngsters they've brought in are just not good enough yet at this level. Do you think that's correct on that one, mate, or do you think that's quite a bold, scathing statement?
No, I think it's true, but I also don't think they went big in the transfer window for saying they won the treble and stuff like that. After they won the treble, it was one of the most appealing clubs to go to because they looked like they was going to carry on winning doubles or trebles. So I can't believe after them looking like they was the team to go to, the best team around, that they didn't just go and get players cheap because there was really attractive at that moment in time, and they didn't go and get. And now, as you said, they are panicking and bringing the players in January, which they'll overpay because we all know this window you overpay to get players. So I don't think they realised that they needed players, or they was too confident and cocky, like they didn't need players and they was okay with what they had. Too much. They should have got backup for Rodri. Basically, they needed backup for that man. And Gundogan, yeah, he's coming in, but he's not the same player as Rodri is their main man. So I just think they was too cocky in the transfer window, and they've realised now that they're in a little bit of trouble.
No, definitely, mate. And Tony, on the flip side of that, when you look at how Brentford have gone about their business in the transfer windows over the last couple of years, obviously they've gone with this data-led approach that their owner apparently owns a data-led company, seems to have all the Football Manager databases that are out there to back him up, which is one of my favourites. How amazing has their business been to come up with some of the players that they have and that we're now seeing on the big stage within reason for such little money?
Yeah, I mean, look, they've done really well. I mean, when they first came to the Premier League, everybody thought, oh, they'll go straight back down, you know. And, you know, they've been up there 3 seasons now, and they look like an established side. Maybe Thomas Frank, you look at him as a manager and think, is he underrated? You know, is he destined to go to a bigger club? Maybe. But look, they've got a good home record, Brentford. We know that. We got beat 4-2 there. Although we could have been 4-2 at half-time against Brentford, in all honesty. So, I mean, look, it's a hard place to go and get a result. I actually thought Man City would have gone there and won that game 2-1, if I was honest. When I saw end 2-2, I was like, wow, okay. You know, but yeah, they've made some great signings. When you think you've got the likes of Buemo there. I mean, he's rated at what, 50, 60 million quid now? You know,
apparently he's got some suitors as well sniffing around him, isn't there, from some of the top clubs now? Yeah. They're all looking at him. So what a return. I think, what was it, like 10 million they paid for him?
Yeah, something silly like that. And I mean, look, they got Ivan Toney and cheap, and then they sold him on for 40 million to obviously the Saudi League. Although there may be a few Premier League teams now thinking they wish they'd went and bought them. But you know, as I say, some of that business has been really well spent. You know, like Lewis Potter, he's playing well this season, isn't he? You know, and they signed him from Hull City. So there's another one. You know, things like Mark Flecken, I think they got him pretty cheap from the Dutch league, and you know, so yeah, they have made some shrewd signs. And when you look at some players that are there that have played started from the lower leagues, likes of Ethan Pinnock, you know, started Forest Green Rovers, went to Barnsley, and then signed for Brentford. You know, so yeah, it just goes to show that sometimes you don't always have to buy top level players you can get players from the lower leagues, and they can be good. You know, you can go non-league. I mean, look at Jamie Vardy. He's the example, isn't he? You know, and he's still banging goals in a 37-year-old. So yeah, it does go to show that you can do shrewd business and do very well with it. I mean, you know, Brentford just missed out on Europe last season. It wouldn't surprise me if they finished in the top 7 this season.
No, of course, there's definitely a lot.
I was just going to put on you on the game though. Obviously, you asked me about the young players coming in, but on that game, it's got Manchester United all over it. Manchester City should not be letting Brentford come back in that game. They've done exactly what they did against Manchester United, and that's really bad by Manchester City. The defence clearly shocking to let a 2-0 lead go. That's not the old Manchester City that we know.
And that's I think, a very valid point that links in with what you said. The arrogance around the Rodri cover, because obviously Rodri was always there to sort of keep them in games. He was the link between defence and the forwards, but also then he was their safeguard. He was their safety net, all that mopping up they used to do. And I think, like you said, Kovacic has been out injured, so they've got no backup there. Gundogan, great player in his day, but has got no legs anymore. So literally City have left themselves exposed. And it's like David Clark has said here that Lewis playing at fullback, he's still very young, a very good youngster, but someone who doesn't know his true position. Is he a left back? Is he a right back? Is he a centre back? Is he a CDM at the moment as well? But then also another point that the City keeper, Ortega, he's a good backup, but he's still not doing himself any favours to be able to solidify the position that he's in. But let's move on from this game, because I want to cover all of them. So let's go to Stamford Bridge, because I know everyone loves it there. Another big result for Bournemouth, especially that they don't have any written striker on the books, and Iraola's come up with another amazing result for them. So, Lewis, if I come to you on this one, we know how Stamford Bridge is. We know we don't like it there. It's not a nice place to go in daytime or at night time or for games. But when you look at this result, 2-2, where's Chelsea's early season form gone, mate? Because this is becoming the same discussion point every week now. It's either a draw or a loss for them at the moment.
It is, but I mean, I'm quite enjoying it, to be honest. I mean, it gives me something this Premier League season. If I can't be happy about Spurs, I can be happy about something else. But no, Chelsea, it seems the first half they always come out swinging. I mean, they probably were definitely the better team in that game. I mean, they were creating definitely the better chances, had more threat on goal, but it's just their defence has been letting them down. They've had quite a lot of centre-back injuries this season. I mean, if you look at that, they were playing Levi Colwill with, I'm going to butcher his name, but a Chempong, quite the 18-year-old. And obviously they've had to bring in Trevor Chalobah back in off loan because of their injuries to their centre-backs. That is probably quite a reoccurring issue for them. But I think Chelsea they still pose a lot of threat going forward here. I mean, they're attacking line with Palmer and Jackson. Needs no introduction. I think Jackson was pretty good that game. He did brilliantly to set up Palmer for that first goal. But in the end, Bournemouth and Iraola just found a way. And I feel like Bournemouth did play well enough to deserve a point, but Chelsea are definitely better. And Chelsea will look at that with 2 points dropped.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, that man's name, Palmer, always seems to resonate one way or another. He's always involved somewhere. I mean, David Clark is definitely... Look, it's Palmer FC. Everybody can see it. Everything goes through him and he gets the most critical goals. No, I do agree with the point. And Dan, I'm going to come to you on this one. Do you think that Chelsea have other players apart from Palmer who can do stuff? Because I think that's quite a scathing statement, isn't it? I mean, Palmer does do a lot for them, but it's just how brilliant a player he is, isn't it? But there's got to be other people in that Chelsea squad who can do stuff.
Chelsea have got a cracking team, all 11. Well, apart from the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's shocking. He's like Mr. Bean. But Chelsea have got like an amazing team all throughout. And like you've just said, I think the situation is that it's only Palmer stepping up. He's the one that's not bottling it. He's got the character to say, I'm going to put the performance on. And you look at the players that they've got. they've got ability like Palmer, but why aren't they doing it? And that's got to be the money. They've got Neto, they've got Mandu, they've got players all over that are really, really good, and that's a really disappointing result for Chelsea, because I'm looking at Chelsea, Arsenal, and Nottingham Forest now to stop Liverpool from winning the league, and very disappointing. And no disrespect to Bournemouth, because I think Bournemouth are a team where I keep looking at thinking, when's this good run going to end? When are you going to stop doing this? But they just keep turning up, and they are good this season. I was expecting it to die off, but it hasn't. So fair play to Bournemouth. They're proving me wrong every game. I'm expecting them to take a battering soon, and they're not. They're turning out to be a very good team this season.
Going on your point, I remember when they sacked Gary O'Neill, a lot of people were like, well, this guy's come in and done really well. He's kind of saved them. He's kept them all sort of level. And then when Areola came in, everyone was questioning, who's this guy? Where's he come from? He's Spanish or something like that, but where's he come from? And like you say, he's definitely got this run going this year where perseverance is the key for them. And I mean, how many top 6 scalps have they got this year? Well, I say top 6 from last year. I think that's the best comparison, because the top 6 is completely and utterly all over the place this year compared to the usual suspects. Do you feel that they've got enough in them to keep going to chase for a European slot?
But the thing is, you look at their players. This is why I say, no disrespect to what you look at them, and they've got Cook and Christie, which don't set me alight and say, wow, but it just shows that football confidence is everything. Confidence is massive, and their players, confidence, that's what it is. The players are playing at the peak of their game, and that's the difference. If Chelsea was playing at the peak of their game, you'd see them smashing Bournemouth, but Bournemouth are playing at the peak and Chelsea are nowhere near the peak, and that's the difference. That's why Bournemouth have got something out of this.
No, of course, mate, of course. And Tony, if I can come to you on this one, do you think that Dan's correct in saying that Chelsea players need to get their heads out their backsides and start stepping up and getting rid of the Palmer tag? Because we just seem to hear it constantly all the time now, don't we?
Yeah, it does seem to get a bit boring. I mean, that's all you hear is like Palmer this, Palmer that. You know, I mean, when you think they've got some cracking players there. I mean, Madueke, I think he's a cracking winger. Just don't know why he's not getting played as much now, because he started the season on fire, didn't he? I mean, they've got Neto there who's doing well. You've got Enzo Fernandez, who is, was best young player at the World Cup in Qatar, in 2022. So just a lot of their players need to step up, and that's the thing. You look at them, but I know Maresca's got them playing better than what, say, Pochettino had, but there again, when you've got an owner like Todd Bowley, who is just going out willy-nilly buying all these players in, and you've then got to get these players gelled. You've got to get them used to a system. All these players have played in different systems completely, and then to get them molded into a system that you want them to play in is tough, But yeah, I mean, look, they've got to try and get rid of that Palmer tag, that Palmer FC tag. He has made a big difference at Chelsea, and for £45 million, you look at that and you think, what a snip. I mean, I wish we had gone in for him, to be honest with you. I mean, there'd be a lot of clubs looking at that now, thinking they wish they'd got him for 45 million quid. Because he's turned into performances. But there's another 10 players behind him, and they've all got to step up now and be counted, So, yes, they've got a crisis at centre-back. And obviously, they're bringing Shalabar back because they've got an early loan recall on him. But, I mean, look, when they played us in the Carabao Cup at St James's Park with their so-called second string, we absolutely took them apart. We beat them 2-0. That Philip Jorgensen, who was in goal, I didn't rate him. Even though he was highly rated in Spain, I didn't rate him. He looked shaky as heck. Worse than Sanchez, if I'm honest. And that's saying something about Sanchez, who wasn't great at all. But the team that they had out, they had the likes of Disarcy, another one who's not really hit the dizzy heights, looks out of his depth in the Premier League. And, yeah, and the thing is, they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and they just looked awful as a second string. Joe Felix, I mean, he looks terrible as a striker. Let's be honest. When he played us, he'd missed sitters. He could have scored. The chances he missed were just unbelievable. They were laughable. Let's be honest. So yeah, look. Sometimes when you're throwing in too many players at once, and you're going out there and buying all the so-called superstars, it's a lot different. It's a lot different to what it is, say, at Real Madrid, where at least Real Madrid, when they do buy these big players, they get them in, but they seem to gel and work straight away. But the Liga is a totally different league to the Premier League. And sometimes you've just got to take your time when you're building a squad. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say on that.
No, I completely appreciate that, mate. And Barney, I'll come to you on the last point on this game.
Yep.
Obviously, Bournemouth did this without a recognised striker. So Evan Nilsson and Enes Unal are both out injured for potentially up to 2 to 3 months between them. So, I mean, this is some feat, isn't it? Because you've got players like Kluivert, Semenyo, and a load of other players who are playing as sort of converted false nines. Do you think that can work for the rest of the season if Bournemouth don't get a recognised striker in, or do you think they need some help?
I think it can work, and I'll give you a simple reason why. We don't necessarily have what I call world-class strikers at our disposal with my team, but we found other ways to score. Bournemouth remind me a lot about ourselves. We don't have superstars. It's much the same as Bournemouth, but they have a work ethic. They have a manager which brings out the best in them, and they work so hard each game. And when we played them recently, they just have a battle and a desire to get forward. They never give up. And that's what I really, really admire about what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Chelsea, and they've got a talent full of players, but it's how you use them. Bournemouth could go out and buy a striker, but that might not necessarily solve the problem. I mean, they're doing fine without one. They're doing comfortably in the table. They're getting results. So I think they can battle on through to the end of the season, certainly.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate. And you definitely got David Clark's backing on this. The best teams don't always have the best individuals because it's about constructing a jigsaw where players fit a particular system. And obviously that definitely applies to a number of teams this year, including Forest, who we will cover in a number of minutes. Obviously, big up to Mr. Richard Cutt. Loving the podcast, guys. So keep up the great work. So thank you as always, mate. Right. Seeing as Barney's just given us a nice overfeed on this, I'm going to make your night a little bit more difficult, mate. Let's jump to the Olympic Stadium. And we're going to go for a run on their running track.
Let's get it out of the way.
So, obviously, since a lot of us have all been together on the podcast, West Ham have sacked Julian Lopetegui, definitely one of the weirdest appointments in the summer as a manager. And they've gone out and appointed Graham Potter. They did lose in the cup to Aston Villa, but I think it was a big ask of his first game. But then obviously they have come back with a very respectable 3-2 win over Fulham. And without a lot of recognised strikers, they are in a bit of injury crisis. Jarrod Bowen is out injured, and Mikel Antonio, we are still waiting to see whether he does return to the football field after his very unfortunate car accident as well. So, Barney, if you can give me your thoughts on this game, mate, because this one I didn't see coming. I thought Fulham would be having a lot of fun with a very unbalanced West Ham team.
You know what? I didn't see this coming. I've spoken to a few Fulham colleagues at work, and it's the same old story with us, Kallum. It's the expectation. Fulham have got on a good run of form. We were unbeaten in 8. We could have approached this and should have approached this, better than what we did. But in typical fashion, what we've done so often this season, we switched off at moments. And it was a weird game because I watched it on the TV, and we started off really, really well. Harry Wilson hit the bar. And I thought, okay, it's going to be one of these games where, we're not going to take our chances. It's going to be typical Fulhamish. And the longer the game went on, and it just changed. within like 3 minutes, obviously Leno made a little bit of mistake pushing out for their goal, and defensively we switched off. I mean, West Ham, they're not a bad side. They just haven't been utilised properly by the correct manager. And I just knew when Graham Potter came in, it's new manager bounce. When a team's on that kind of run, West Ham have the ability to sort of, pull out a result against anyone if they're on it. We saw that when we played them at Craven Cottage, and Alex Iwobi, great goals. They were identical, actually. I've never seen actually 2 goals that pretty much looked the same. On another day, we could have got a point because I think it was Adama Traore. He missed literally. I don't know how he missed. Like, at the end of the game, he blazed over from 5 yards.
Well, what do you expect from Oil Boy, mate? He never turns up when you need him to. He's too busy doing his shampoo commercials and all that.
I love him. He's a frustrating player because he's got the pace. He's got that ability to get into the box, but it's just his finishing he needs to improve. Antonio Robinson, 2 assists. I can't grumble that. That's 9 this season. But I've said this to many people. If we have serious aspirations of qualifying for Europe, we got the players. We work hard for each other. West Ham will be delighted with this, and they should be. It's a scout for them. No disrespect to West Ham, but we should have got something from that game. We should have done, no question. If we got serious aspirations of Europe, we need to be winning. It's as simple as that. And sometimes I think we lack a winger. I think we should go in this January transfer for a winger. We got enough threat in the goals. We just don't take the chances. I mean, we've dropped 19 points now from winning positions.
Yeah, it's not a good stat at all. Dan, I think it's only fair that we have to give Graham Potter some credit. I mean, he's come in, he's got a team in disarray, he's got a bunch of injuries, and to come in realistically and get a very respectable 3-2 win against Fulham, it does show that he is sort of that good manager that we remember from Brighton and not his unfortunate tenure at Chelsea, isn't it?
I think West Ham are always going to turn up some games because they've got good players, and Paqueta and Kudus is class as well. They've got some really dangerous players, West Ham have. So I don't, where some people, because there was poor against us, but because they've had bad results, don't think that they're a crap team, because they're not. They've got dangerous players, and I think with their dangerous players caught Fulham out on the attack a couple of times, and the game just went their way. And it does, for me personally, I don't think it's like a Potter masterclass who's figured them out. I think the team just turned up on the day and did Fulham and caught them out. And like I say, they have got some good attacking players. Potter's got some good players there. The defence is a problem. I thought when they played us, I thought the defence is West Ham's problem, not their attacking players. But Fulham, for fair play to them, they are playing really well. But it wasn't a game where I thought Fulham would have run away with that. I thought it was close. It could have gone each way before it even started.
Of course, and then obviously West Ham did prevail. Tony, I mean, like Barney said, the problem with Fulham is inconsistencies when it comes to finishing from the wing. Alex Iwobi does step up at points, but he's definitely got inconsistency in his game. And Adama Traore, when we look at his career, he's been linked with so many top clubs, but it's always fallen down at that final hurdle. And I think that final hurdle has to be said that it's his finishing, isn't it? He's got all the pace, all the attributes to be a big, strong, bastard type winger, but he can't finish his breakfast, can he, mate?
No, I mean, look, give credit to West Ham, I suppose. New manager bounce, Graham Potter's in. He'll get his how he wants the team set up to play across. It'll take a few games, obviously, for them to get into that. Obviously, they took a 2-goal lead, didn't they? And then, obviously, Fulham pegged them back at 2-2 before West Ham scored a late goal. But look, the thing is, likes of Traore, I mean, when he was at Wolves, he looked electric, and people thought, oh, yeah, he's the next big thing. He went to Barcelona and he flopped, didn't he? And look, thing is, I mean, obviously any club that he goes to, obviously they have to have a cupboard for him to keep all his baby oil in there, because he's always got to be oiled up before he goes on the pitch. But he's one of those players. He's got the pace, but he can't score for toffee,
Could he score for you guys, Dan? Could he score for you guys?
Probably
What do you
could.
think?
Yeah, to be fair, he probably could. He probably could score for Toffees, to be fair, with the way we're
Yeah,
playing.
he probably could. Well, yeah. I mean, but he just can't hit a barn door, can he? He's just absolutely dreadful.
The thing is, though, he puts fear into the opposition. He can get you into positions that other attacking players can't get you into. It's just he's such a frustrating player because he hasn't got that. It's frustrating because he can get you into a position where your attackers can't get you into. So he does what your attackers can't do attacking wise. But when he gets into the final third, you think that
it's so true. You've nailed it there.
You?
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, with Traore as well. I mean, if his game was a lot better than it was, and he could finish, and and his crossing was better, he'd probably be a starter for Spain, But because he didn't do it at Barcelona, and he's just more of a speed merchant, isn't he, than anything? And that's the thing. It just needs somebody to pull him aside. I think it just needs the coaching team just to pull him to one side and say, right, okay, we're going to work on this. You're going to do this crossing. We're going to work on that, and then we're going to work on your finishing. If the lad could finish and cross better, then you'd probably have a world class. Well, you'd probably have a one of the best right wingers in Europe. But he's failed to live up to that, and that's the problem.
He said earlier on he can't finish his breakfast. Imagine how big he'd be if he could actually finish his breakfast.
Oh God, Jesus Christ!
He's got the build, hasn't he? He's got the physique. He's like, he's very muscular, and
he is. He gets into the right position.
At 28 years now, he's obviously reached his peak now. So I don't think he's going to get any better than he actually is. He's only scored like one goal in 20 games for Fulham and 3 assists.
It's always been them stats that has held his career back, hasn't it?
Yeah, you want a lot more out of him for that than what than what you're getting out of him. But when you think he's been in the Premier League a long time, and he's just not the best player, shall we say?
Shame.
No, of course, mate. Of course. I mean,
but Iwobi is one of those who's got pace, and yes, he can score goals. I mean, when he was at Everton, he scored that late winner against us at Goodison Park. But
Iwobi, fantastic.
Yeah, he isn't a bad. He's better than Traore, that's for sure. I would say.
100%.
He was nowhere near that player for us. Like, it just shows sometimes a move can change a player. Like, some people say like that. A different team, a different formation, maybe even a different style can trigger a player and bring him to life, because Iwobi was not that for us. I know he scored that late goal with 10 men against you, which I was really happy with, because that was a turning point for us. And I won't forget that. But he ghosted a lot of games for Everton, and he was not a goal-scoring threat. I wasn't the biggest fan of Iwobi, and he's smashing it for Fulham, and I'll admit that, but he didn't do that for us. He definitely didn't do that for us.
No, most definitely. So let's jump forward to a game that was definitely two title challengers to go for. So, Lewis, if I can come on to you on this one, mate. This feels like a point gained for Forest and 3 points dropped realistically for Liverpool, to say the least, because obviously Forest did take the lead and then Liverpool had to catch up. So can you give me your thoughts on this one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret that Liverpool would pose the more threat on goal this game, and we all know how Forest play. And as someone who watched Nuno for about 9 games before he got sacked, it wasn't very positive the way he plays. And I know that, but what Forest have got is that they've got a very solid defence, and it's something and the midfield allows them to soak up the pressure. And obviously they play so quick on the counter, right? Against teams like Liverpool, against any team, it really is dangerous. Their back line is so solid that they can absorb the pressure for all the game. And I don't think they had that many shots on goal. I think it was about 5 shots they had, but that's all they need. And Liverpool had close to about 30 shots, but obviously they both ended up with 1 apiece. It just shows how good Forest are defensively and how good they soak up pressure. But no, I thought this game would be a draw. I mean, we all know that Chris Wood is going to be dangerous with playing along the floor. I mean, that free ball to him from Elanga was quality, and he got it in. Of course, it does. But I think Liverpool would definitely be a bit annoyed about that game because I mean, if you look at it a couple months ago for Liverpool, Forest away, that's 3 points for them without a question. But I mean, this season, Forest have proven that they should be getting a European spot now. I think it'll be a big fall off if they don't end up with the European spot. I think they massively deserve it. They've been absolutely fantastic this season, something I never saw coming. And but no, Liverpool would look at that as 3 points drop, but I still think they're front runners for the Premier League.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate. And Tony, there was a name that Lewis drops there of Chris Wood, and obviously you know him very well from his time at Newcastle. I mean, when you look at how he was playing for Newcastle, it wasn't all sort of bells and whistles sort of thing that he is doing now. He was definitely more further down the pecking order, wasn't he? And now he's taken that step up to be one of the most informed Premier League strikers. So, I mean, how does that look?
He saved them, though. Like, obviously put that question up to me, but if you look at when Newcastle, there was at the bottom and there was nearly getting relegated, and Wood was a big start to them getting away from the relegation part. He was actually good for Newcastle, Wood was.
Exactly, and that's where I was going to lead it on to, Dan. So that's very nicely how you brought in there, because obviously, Tony, you guys kept Kallum Wilson, and look how that's turned out. Imagine if you had Wood and Isak at the moment. I mean, it's all hypothetical pipe dreams, but look how well he's doing for Forest at the moment for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's playing really well. I think when he was with us at Newcastle, I think, look, he scored a few goals for us, but he didn't really set the world alight at Newcastle, if I'm honest. Although he did help us stay up that season. Did score some vital goals, like the header against Southampton away when we were 1-0 down, the penalty against Wolves. But yeah, I mean, look, at Forest, they're probably playing more to his strengths. Because the type of football Eddie Howe plays at Newcastle is a fast-paced football, high intensity, and probably something Chris Wood's not used to playing because that's not his game. I mean, I've seen him many times score against us at St James's Park. I mean, I remember when we won the championship, he scored for Leeds in the last minute and won the game for Leeds United with a header. And he's done it for Burnley as well. But at Forest, he's just absolutely smashing it. And, you know, I'm glad to see he is. I mean, look, we bought him from Burnley for 25 million quid. But we sold him to Forest for like 15 million. You know, so all he cost us was 6 million quid. So that's great business, really, when you think about it. But no, he's doing really well for them, and he's right up there in the goal scoring charts. He can't stop scoring. And I thought Liverpool would have a hard game. I did think Liverpool would have won that 2-1, if I'm honest, tight game. I didn't think it would be a straightforward game for Liverpool, considering in the reverse fixture at Anfield, Forest won that 1-0. Now, everybody keeps saying Forest are going to drop off and that bubble's going to burst. Well, where is it going to burst? Because every time they say this, they seem to pull out these results. But they're not just pulling out these results. They're playing well and pulling out these results. If you look at the wingers, for the combined fees for them two wingers is 18.5 million quid. 3.5 million for Hudson-Odoi, 15 million for Elanga. Now, they've gotten an absolute bargain there. Hudson-Odoi, I've always highly rated that kid. And I tell you now, I think he is a great winger. He just didn't get enough chances at Chelsea, and I think he lost his way a bit. And when Chelsea sold him for 3.5 million quid to Forest, I thought, wow, what a deal they've got there. And you can see now he's smashing it, and he's probably worth, 3-4 times worth. He's probably worth about 15, 20 million quid now. You know, in Elanga, he's smashing it as well. You know, Man U didn't want him and got rid of him for 15 million quid. And, you know, when Nuno came into that club, his second game was against us on the Boxing Day last season, and it showed you how clever he is of a manager. He changed straight away. He said, "Right, I'm going to stick Alanga on the right, and I'm going to play Hudson-Odoi left because Alanga's a quick player, Dan Burn slow." And he absolutely ripped Dan Burn to bits that day. He absolutely ripped Dan Burn to bits, Alanga. But no, I mean, look, considering you had him at Spurs as manager and you sacked him, but you look at his record with Forest, he kept them up last season, and this season they're flying. That joined second with Arsenal. You know, they're not far off from top of the Premier League. And look, I think they could stay up there for the season. I really do. I can't see where they're going to drop off. We're into January now, so where's the drop off that all these pundits keep saying? Remember, they said the same with Leicester City when they won the Premier League against all odds. Oh, Leicester will have a drop off. They never dropped off. And if they keep their players fit, and I'll tell you who's made a big difference to Forest this season, and I know you shouldn't say one player makes a team, but Milenkovic at the back, what a rock he's been, hell of a defender. And also, the goalkeeper, Matt Sells, who used to play for us, believe it or not, was absolutely diabolical for us. And let's be honest, he was diabolical. He got dropped for Caldalo. And that was when we were in the Championship. But he's come on leaps and bounds, and he's the top keeper in the Premier League at the moment with the most clean sheets. So, you know, they've got a good back four there. Murillo's a good centre-back as well. And then you've got Aina as well. And you know, and whoever they put at left back, you know, like Alex Moreno, he's doing well. And so, yeah, I think Forest will stay up there. And of course, they've got Elliot Anderson from us, which they got on through PSR. And again, he's smashing it. Forest fans absolutely love Elliot Anderson. And rightly so. He's going to be a top player.
When you think of it, as well, they've got Gibbs White and Ward-Prowse as well, haven't they? As other options in there. So, I mean, the squad is definitely stocked and loaded, ready for attack.
I don't think they got Ward-Prowse now. I think he's gone back to West Ham.
Oh, has he gone back now? Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a few weeks ago he went back. But yeah, I mean, look, they've got some great players in there. And they've got some good players on the bench as well. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't finish in the top four. I reckon they'll finish in the top seven, definitely. But I wouldn't rule them out finishing in our top four. You know, considering we all know Richard Masters called them a small club alongside Everton. Well, they're not a small club because they won 2 European Cups. So how can you call them a small club? You don't just go and win European Cups being a small club. So, you know, that's... He got a lot of Forest fans back up over that, and rightly so, because, you know, you can't belittle teams like that, you know. Everton's certainly not a small club, you know, and Forest is not a small club.
I think also with the Forest with Everton was the ones that got absolutely done over by the Premier League last season with PSR, and the Premier League attacked Nottingham Forest and Everton, and Forest they've bounced back on that, and I'm happy for Forest, you know, because they was up against PSR as well. This fake thing that's all gone away. I think they were just using us for examples, and it don't seem to be the same anymore. And Forest, they was going through it with us last season with the PSR, not knowing what was going to happen with point deductions, and this season they've come out all guns blazing, and I wish we would have done the same. And fair play to them. You talk about the only way Forest are like Leicester, by the way. I think when a team's on a high, you don't get many injuries. I think that like Leicester, when you're playing at your peak and your best, you often see you can keep the same 11. I think because they're on a high, they're confident, and your muscles ain't tight, and they're just at the peak. And when you're at your peak, you just love playing football, and you don't pick up injuries. You often pick them up when you're at your low. And the Aina right back, he is sensational. Like, he is fast as lightning, bombs it down, amazing. And as much as I don't like Six, he used to play for Liverpool. Williams is a good left back as well. So, and then as the guy mentioned before, the two centre backs cracking. So their defence for me is pivotal on them carrying it on this season. If they was to get an injury on the right back, left back, or centre back, then you could probably see teams get at them. But if they keep that same back four, they'll be dangerous because that's the thing. They're solid in defence, but then you've got Alanga, who's lightning. Morgan Gibbs-White, who's one of the best 10s going in the Premier League at the minute. And then you've got Hudson-Odoi, as you said, he's amazing as well. So because the defence is solid, they can just let those free attacking midfielders just go for it. And I think he's just loving it because he's got 3 players behind him that are just saying, I'll put it to you, I'll put it to you, I'll put it to you. And he reads them and he gets them. And it's the perfect combination. It reminds me of Leicester a little bit when you had Mahrez, Kante and all that, because it's the perfect combination. And Anderson was a good signing, as you've just said. And Yates, I always think he's crap, but he can't be if they keep winning like they do. So, no, they've got a good combination. You've got to take them seriously, but I do think they've got to be careful of injuries on the defenders. But they're looking very good, and I like them. They should have won that game. I was really peed off because I was like, yes, come on, beat the shite. And then all of a sudden, they didn't see it out. I actually thought they was going to see it out. That's my
I mean, Hudson-Odoi's only 24, so when you think, they've gotten a bargain there, haven't they, really? So, yeah.
Definitely picked up a lot of players who were out of favour from their own teams, and PSR obviously did help them out a little bit from Newcastle's disfortune on that one to give them some very good options going forward. Right, just to make Dan's night a little bit worse, we've got to do this one. So we are going to Goodison Park. I think, was this Moyes' first game in charge, Dan? Was it?
You know, it was Moyes' first game in charge. You know, it was his first game. Of course, you did.
What is it?
Yeah, it was his first game in charge.
Rolling back history, going back nearly 20 years and all that. When you guys got rid of him first time round, and then gone back to a stopgap. So, I mean, talk us through how this game panned out, mate, please.
Well, Everton fans wasn't happy at the start because when you get a new manager, you want a little bit of something different. And he went and put out the exact team that Sean Dyche would have played, like the team that Sean Dyche did play. So we was all lit. But some people say, oh, Everton fans get onto the players or get onto the... We don't. We don't. And it's all bullshit because we hated this, and it will scar me for the rest of my life and give me nightmares. We even got behind the Benitez appointment, We even got behind that, and that should never happen. It makes me feel sick, but we just do what's best for our club, and we just want our club. Our Everton Football Club is more important than the manager. We're bigger than the manager, so we get behind whatever. And so we were behind Moyes. We was behind him, but I don't know. It's one of them. You're like, it's his first game. You can't jump on him. Do you know what I mean? But you want to because it wasn't that good. And what really peed me off is because Moyes is like, here's the game. And some Everton fans won't think the same as me, by the way, because we're 50-50 on this. But some people will be like, there's your first game, Moyes. And Moyes is like, I was looking at the players. So it wasn't on me. It was on the players. I just seen what they're like. But then I'm thinking to myself, haven't you watched these players before you got the job? You should already know what players was playing crap for Dyche. And Jack Harrison is shocking, and I don't want to see him play for us. I'd want to see him go back on loan. But David Moyes plays him just to see him flop, like we all knew he was going to do. And at the end of the game, David Moyes went 3 centre-backs, which a lot of Everton fans are crying out for. Branthwaite, Tarkowski and O'Brien. I want to see more of O'Brien. I think he's cracking. And we played that in the Cup and it worked. And I believe that's the answer, for us, because we was attacking at the end and Calvert-Lewin missed a sitter where we still could have got a draw out of a game that we played poor in. But Moyes has got to learn. He hasn't got time. Mm-hmm. He hasn't got time to say, oh, it's going to take me a little bit of time to learn this, that, and the other, because we need results and we need results fast. Because unfortunately, Dyche has put us in a relegation battle. Not just Dyche, the players as well, but Dyche has massively put us in a relegation battle, and we need to win games. Draws ain't good enough. And this, by the way, Aston Villa wasn't that impressive. They are a very good side, I admit, but they had a couple of chances against us where one-on-ones, they didn't score, and you'd like to think when a team doesn't take the chances, you can make them pay for it. But Moyes got a big job, and we do need to bring in some players this transfer window, because when you've got 2 goalkeepers on the bench, straight away, that's worrying. You shouldn't have Begovic and another goalkeeper on the bench because you haven't got enough players But we have got an easy game coming up next, so I am confident.
Yeah, eat your heart out, but we will cover that later on. I mean, has it started looking like the money will be put in January? Because I haven't seen that many rumours linked to many Everton players coming in or players coming into Everton.
You need to. The problem is not Begovic, Brozier. He's picked up an injury and we've got him on loan, so we're trying to send him back, but Chelsea will be stubborn on it and we'll probably have to pay money to send him back, still pay his wages or pay something. So we need, because we've only got one international loan, one loan abroad, sorry, that's all we've got. We're trying to send a couple of loans back to get loans. So we have met PSR, so we're happy. The stadium's been paid, everything's been paid. We are good, but we ain't got a massive pot to spend in the transfer window, so we're going to have to be snood. There's talks that we're in for a winger for 20 million from Lyon. It won't be a lot we've got to spend. So if we could send a loan back, maybe get 2 players on loan and sign 1 or 2 players, but we do massively need to strengthen because we've been playing with PSR and like Newcastle as well. They've had to get rid of some players they don't want to. We've had to get rid of Anthony Gordon, Iwobi, Nana, all these players, and eventually, if you keep getting rid of players, your squad's going to be really thin, and that's what we're like now. Like I say, 2 goalkeepers on the bench. I think if we can battle it this season and Moyes can get us to stay up, which I think he will, I always think we'll be okay. Then next season, with the new stadium, we're going to get more of a pot, and that's when you can see Everton grow and sort this mess out that we've been in for a while.
No, completely appreciate that, mate. I mean, out of the players that you have got, what would be the loans that you can get rid of? I'm guessing Brozier would be one of them because of the injury. So, I mean, who would be the other person that you try? There's
not much that it takes to sort this mess out to turn us into a dangerous team. You know, I think Moyes played the wrong team, but Njai is fantastic, Iliman Njai. And I think if we can add something dangerous with him, because a lot of we're relying on him to be our main player, and we haven't got, because Harrison isn't that good. Lindstrom's, he's not proven yet. And Decore in the 10 isn't dangerous enough for us. So I think if we could... McNeil's injured at the minute, so he is coming back. But I'd love... There's a player that I really, really do want is Sulemana from Southampton, and I know we won't get him, but his stats are awful at the minute. But I feel Sulemana is a player that's going to come to light right now in the Premier League. So I'd love a player that's fast like him. But if we could get... We probably need a striker as well, because Calvert-Lewin, there's talks of him going to Newcastle. We're talking about them letting Chris Wood go. That's what the talks are, though, isn't it? Yeah, he was in talks last time and he didn't go because he wanted more of a wage when we tried to get your winger that went to Brighton. So there was conversations. Yeah, Minter, we probably could have got him, and we swapped Calvert-Lewin, and I'm really peed off that Calvert-Lewin didn't let that happen because he's a class winger. But Newcastle are interested. Whether Newcastle fans won't like that, but they are interested in Calvert-Lewin.
Apparently, Fiorentina want him as well, don't they? So
yeah, Dan would be happy to get rid of him, and probably Beto as well, because I mean, Beto doesn't seem to set the world alight much from an outside point of view either. You've definitely got them issues. But Lewis, if I can come over to you on this one, mate. Obviously, Villa somehow seem to still find a way, one way or another. Emre does seem to still pick up points throughout this. They've got Donnell Marlon this week, who is a very good backup option for them as well, or maybe even a starter going into their first team lineup. So can you see Villa keep up their chase for the European spots this year?
I can. I mean, they're doing quite well in the Champions League as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't know if they're already through to the next round, but I'm pretty sure they will be there in and around that. So, I mean, I feel like they can be pushing. I mean, they're not too far. I think they only are like 3 points off top 4th place Newcastle at the moment. So they are very much in and around that. I think if they were to keep going in the cups, I mean, Spurs have Villa Park in the FA Cup. I don't think we're going to win that. So that would progress them further into the FA Cup. And if they were to stay in the Champions League, then fatigue is going to hit them hard, and they might seem to drop off in the league. That tends to what happens when clubs like Villa, who haven't been in a European competition for a while, go in there. They do seem to have a bit of fatigue, and their squad tries to adapt to playing 2 games a week because it is hard. It is hard going. But Villa do always find a way. I mean, in that game specifically, I think Everton matched them really. They kind of went toe to toe with Villa for the whole 90. It was just that one strike that gave them the 3 points. But, I mean, for Everton, I think it will be a bit of a slow process because I mean, I'm not saying Moyes plays negative football, but I mean, he plays quite similar to Dyche. I mean, they're two quite similar ways of approaches to playing football. So I don't think it'll be a massive shift in how Everton will set up. I mean, but I could be wrong. But I still think Everton will do okay under Moyes. I think he'll keep them up for sure, and he will maybe tweak things here and there. But I don't think he'll be too dissimilar from how Sean Dyche will play his football. But I think players just get behind new managers and they try and obviously show them that they would need to be playing, and they might give Everton a boost.
One thing we did notice with Moyes is that Dyche often got a left back and right back to sit back and not push up. But David Moyes, he wants a left back and right back. If you think of Baines and Coleman back in the day, Moyes likes his left back and right back to push up, and that's where Dyche we've been slacking. So that was nice to see Mikalenko actually bombing it forward for the first time for a Guinness season. So there's still loads to see what Moyes has got planned, but that's the only thing I've seen differently. People say it's very the same as Dyche, but from what I've seen on that first game, Dyche, when the opposition come at us, Dyche he presses them probably on the edge of our box, where David Moyes was actually pressing them high. So that's a big difference for me, because you can actually turn the ball over and score. So Dyche was pressing way too deep, I believe.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate. Right, let's move on to our next game, and that was a 2-0 win for Palace at Leicester. Tony, if I can bring you into this, I mean, Leicester, they had one game bounce with Van Nistelrooy going in there and getting a win, and now it's God knows how many losses and draws that they've had since then. This isn't the team that we all loved and remember from a couple of years ago of Leicester, is it? They've got either an aging team or they've probably got a team that's good enough to win the Championship, but are very much going to struggle in the Premier League. So can you give me your thoughts on how they performed in this game, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, you would have thought against Palace. Palace have struggled this season, and they've just gone on to a little bit of a run at the moment. But you'd have thought when you looked at Van Nistelrooy, when he was in charge of Manchester United for them couple of games, they were winning games quite well. So you sort of thought, oh, that's a good move for Leicester when they took him on. Because I even thought, oh, hang on, that's Leicester staying up this season because he'll keep them in the Premier League because, but it hasn't quite worked out that way, I don't think that team's going to coping very well with the Premier League. Although they've got players that played in the Premier League the last time there. So, and it's not like they haven't got any Premier League players in that team. They've got Harry Winks. I mean, I know he's been out injured, hasn't he, and things like that. But to me, they just look disjointed. They look all over the place. Vardy's not getting any younger. Yes, he's scoring, but he's not getting any younger. So to me,
could he score for Everton? Is he better than Calvert-Lewin?
He'd be an upgrade on Calvert-Lewin, that's for sure, wouldn't he? Anybody's an upgrade on him, even a Championship striker.
Sorry, Dan.
Nice. To be fair, I want Calvert-Lewin to leave, but it's his name, isn't it? Some people just think Calvert-Lewin, he's a good striker. Some people say he's good. Some people do say he's good, but Everton fans ain't happy with him. But David Moyes seems to like him a little bit. I don't know. Don't get me started on him. I'm hoping for a wonder striker coming in this transfer window.
I mean, You never know. He might turn it around under Moyes, but you never know. But yeah, I mean, Leicester, they're just, to me, they look like a team that are going to go back down, I think. So I can't see them staying in the Premier League, but you never know. You never know. But to me, they don't look the same. Dewsbury Hall went and left a gap there as well. So maybe a lot of them can't hack it now in the Premier League, and they're just not good enough. They haven't got the quality. That's the problem, I think.
Should they go back and get Dewsbury Hall on loan? Because apparently, according to a lot of sources, that he is available from Chelsea even after.
He's been linked to us as well, yeah. He has been linked to us, someone that I wouldn't mind getting, I think
He's
he's
not a
It's
bad
a strange
professional, is
signing
he?
again. Chelsea signing these players, and then all of a sudden they're deemed surplus to requirements. So yeah,
He weren't exactly
maybe
cheap
it's
either. What was he, 40 million,
no,
something like that?
yeah. So maybe they could get him on loan, but I don't know if they go down that route. But to me, it doesn't look good for Leicester. Um, but they're not out of it, so they've got plenty of time to turn it around. But it's whether they'll turn it around that's the issue, and I'm not so sure they will. I mean, we took them apart 4-0 at St James's Park quite easily. They looked atrocious. I think they're missing their number one keeper as well at the moment, because he's obviously keeping them in the games. But yeah, to be honest with you, I can't see them staying up. If I'm honest, I think they'll go back down.
Maybe they could. Maybe they're the new Norwich a couple of years ago. Come up, come down, come down. Bit of a yo-yo
Yeah.
club. Too good for the Championship, but not good enough for the Premier League anymore.
Yeah.
But
They need to. What they need to do is hopefully, if they can stay up this season, then they need to strengthen their squad next season to stay in the Premier League. But that's whether they stay up this season or not.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate.
They're not spending though, are they? That's the big thing. Like when they come up straight away, they lost. They used to have Madison's. They used to have Tillemans. They had a lot of decent players that they'd lost, and I thought when they come up, they'd try and build what they used to have, but they didn't. And that was a bit of a white flag to me to say, we'll try and stay up.
I agree.
We're not putting money down to stay up.
I think you're correct, Dan, and this point is from David Clark as well. Obviously, David lives in Leicester, and seeing them close up, their owners were hit harder by COVID more than any other Prem owner. They controlled all the duty-free products coming from Thailand, and then their owner passing away. So apparently, just according to rumours, that a lot of the family that were linked to the dad who owned the club have pulled out their bets in Leicester and kind of let it just be sort of self-running based on the money that's in there. That's all. They're not putting any more investment in there, and I believe they did have Thai Airways as a link for it. But let's jump because we've got a couple of people that need to go soon, so I think it's only fair to jump forward a game and then I'll jump back. Lewis, obviously, you being a Spurs fan, we ain't got no Arsenal fans, so I've got to give this one to you, mate. It wasn't a good game. It was a atypical Spurs performance where we didn't turn up. We didn't look like we was going to do anything. And even though we took sort of the lead, I think it didn't look like we was going to retain it or win here. So give me your thoughts on this one, mate.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty game, so to speak. I don't think we weren't our best. I mean, we haven't been our best for what seems like months now, really. But I mean, it was a classic North London derby away from home. Our players just don't look comfortable. I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable. I mean, I wasn't comfortable, but our players look very just out of just practicals and norms. They just look very shaky. I mean, on the first 15 to 20 minutes, we were really under the cosh. I mean, Arsenal were really going at us as they should be, really at home, being the home team. And we did survive the first 20 minutes, something I thought that we would build confidence off of. And I think we did because we had a spell after about 5-10 minutes where we were actually putting pressure on Arsenal. We were creating threats of goal. Dejan Kulusevski had a very close range shot save from David Raya. And I thought we looked to score. And then we did indeed score with Son. Was a deflected shot, but it's a good attempt on goal. But then after that, we never really got going again. And we didn't look like threatening after that at all. And we dropped off, really. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, we do talk about the problem with Arsenal's first goal is that it wasn't a corner. I mean, it is what it is, I mean, it's just a massive shame. But I mean, I'm not too fussed about it. I mean, a lot of Arsenal fans always think they get refereed differently. Don't think they do get refereed differently. I'm pretty obvious there. But no, and that's what gave him the confidence to go and get the second. The great shot from Trossard. Kingsley should be doing better there. Definitely should be doing better. But I feel like the nerves got to him. He was first, he looked very uncomfortable, Kingsley did. I mean, he was a good keeper first couple games for us. Kept 2 clean sheets, but I mean, Havertz definitely pressuring him a lot. He's playing out of his feet, and he definitely could have conceded a couple from just mistakes, really. But second half just didn't get going. I mean, we made two very attacking substitutions, taking on Brennan Johnson and Maddison for Papsar and Yves Bissouma, which led poor old Lucas Bergvall all on his own in the midfield to try and fend off Arsenal. And he did well, to be fair to him. He did very well, covering all that space of that and having to pick up three midfielders because we were playing so attacking. But we didn't threat goal at all, even with 6 attackers on the pitch, which is a massive problem. So just not a pretty game, really. But I mean, we just have to try and take some positives from the game that we didn't get battered. That is the positive I'll take from that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave this open to the floor because I'd rather not talk about this game because I've covered it enough on Spurs podcasts. And I voiced my discontent and my aggressive nature with it. But I mean, I think this is a very valid comment from David Clark saying that players like Son and Kulusevski don't know the basics of keeping the ball and they came under pressure and just lost out. We definitely lost the midfield battle. So, I mean, Dan, I see you've rolled up your sleeves and you're ready to give you 10 pence for this one, mate. So give me your thoughts on this game.
Well, I did think Arsenal would win it before the game went ahead. I'm surprised that your young players are your best players. And I think that's a big part of the problem. I mean, your centre midfielder, he's class. And I watched you a bit back and I was expecting that young kid centre back for you to be shocking as well. And he's just as composed as you'll get. So those two players are class. They really are class. And I think those young players coming through are a massive positive for you. But then you look at why they smashing it and the other players not. You'd expect those players to be the ones that are bottling it in big games. The fact that your two youngest players are your best players shows how much the other players are letting you down. And all you big players bottle it, like you just said, Son, Kulusevski. And in a derby, you can't accept that. They obviously don't get that. So that's the big thing. It's not about Arsenal versus Spurs. It's the derby. And I think they massively let you down because that's what it comes to. It's like us when we go against Liverpool, you fight and you give 110%. This is bragging rights for the next how long, and you can let them off if they've come off the pitch and give 110%. And I don't think Spurs did that, and I think that's why you're so deflated and your fans are so deflated because I think the young kids did that. They played like it was a derby, the two players, but the others didn't, and that's disappointing. So yeah, I feel that the Spurs fans probably feel that you should have fighted more in that derby because it's massive. Arsenal versus Spurs is a massive derby, and you kind of just didn't really give it that large on the derby, did you? So I can see why you're frustrated. I would be with the way I've seen Spurs performing that. I thought you'd be more up for it and give more fight, and that's where you can't accept that. You can't accept not going for a fight in a derby, especially players like Son, because you can guarantee if it was an international game, Son would absolutely frigging die for his country. And then all of a sudden for Spurs, when you need them in a derby, to turn up, they don't.
And that's the thing. I think this is the conversation that a lot of us as fans have been having, saying, well, is it all down to the manager or is it the actual players on the pitch that aren't turning up to represent our badge? Because, like you say, Bergvall in centre mid playing outstanding. Archie Gray, not even a centre back, playing as a centre back because we've got no other option there and stepping up. And then Son, Kulusevski, Johnson. I mean, Solanke, I thought had quite a good game, but he was isolated. He's another one who can't do much without support. So it was definitely one of them. And another point that David made, that every Arsenal attack came after a Spurs turnover in possession. I mean, what does that show? So, Barney, if I can come to you on this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, Arsenal are a very good team. And I have to admit that Spurs have progressed so much over the years and Arsenal have gone forward gradually under Arteta. So this is what hurts even more. But can you see this rut ending for Spurs? Because this is, I think, we won against Liverpool and Tamworth, but that's not really much, to be honest. They're cup games. Our Premier League rut is, I think,
games,
our last win, I think, was at the start of December against Southampton.
I believe
That's
so,
how bad it is.
No, it's really concerning. If I were a Spurs fan, I'd be genuinely worried. And I think the only thing that's masking over your league form is the fact that you're in cups. When we talk about players like Gray stepping up to that centre-back position, showing up the older, more established players, they want to make an effort. I mean, I'm not being funny. I just didn't think Spurs were playing with heart, because I watched the highlights back. And it's the North London derby, for heaven's sakes. How can you not raise your game for that? It's a bit like, I don't know, Fulham not turning up for Brentford. It's the same thing. It's a given. You want players to give their all for the badge. I genuinely think, as I said before, Spurs' league form is concerning. And if you weren't in a cup, or at least in 2 or 3 cups and Europe, then Spurs fans would suddenly go back to the league and think, hang on, we're in 14th place here. It's not good enough. We're Spurs fans. We should be challenging for Europe. So, yeah, it is concerning. And you never know with the London derby. It can go either way. But I expected more from Tottenham this game, certainly.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate. So, Lewis, I know you've got to jump, mate. So thank you very much for tonight. So I think it was only fitting to end it on this game for you. So where can everyone find you, mate?
Romero 17 season on X. I mean, you can follow him if you want. I'll be very honest. I very rarely post on there, but you can follow it if you want. I don't mind. But I mean, if you want to follow the best page, should be Scarfey Spurs Talk on X, and Harry Scarf as well. He does fantastic work. I can't praise him enough. So you need to go and make sure you're following him.
Lovely, mate. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'm sure I'll see you on here soon or on Harry Spurs channel. So thanks very much for tonight, mate.
Thank you all.
And have a good evening.
All the best, mate.
See you later, mate.
Right. Tony, it's your time to shine, mate. Newcastle Wolves. I'm sure you was ecstatic after this one, mate.
Well,
Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I expect us to beat Wolves, in all honesty. The way we're playing at the moment, we're playing with a confidence. After that Brentford game when we lost 4-2, obviously Anthony Gordon said things were said. Home truths were pulled out. And since then, the team's gone on from strength to strength. And we've gone on this amazing run of winning 9 games in a row. Look, Wolves haven't been playing too bad under this new manager. I mean, remember they beat Man U, who is not a very good team, let's be honest.
I think everyone's got a result against them apart from saying it.
But no, that they've had some okay results under this new manager. But I just thought, when they had Cunha on the bench on Wednesday, I thought, oh, okay, that's a bit strange. Why is he not starting? Not that I was worried about him starting anyway. But, yeah, I mean, look, I just thought the way we're playing at the moment, I've got the confidence. I thought we'd win this game 2-0, so we ended up winning the 3-0. And it took a little bit of magic from Isak to create something himself and then get the shot in and score. Obviously, it did take a deflection, but look, it doesn't matter. As long as it goes in the back of the net, that's the main thing. And then that set us up, for the game. And 2 further goals, second half, Isak. And then Isak with an assist as well for Gordon. Look, I know we've got Everton fan, yeah, but look, Anthony Gordon has been nothing but sensational for us. Obviously, at Everton, he was a good player, good up-and-coming player. There was, as I said, when we first signed him, or when the rumours were in it, there was a lot of our fan base weren't happy about signing Anthony Gordon, let's be honest. And when I put a thing out and I said, look, this lad's a diamond in the rough. I says, he just needs smoothing out. I says, once he smooths out, I reckon we've got a hell of a player in our hands. And I've been proved right. He's one of the best. He's the best left winger in the country. He's miles ahead of Rashford, streets ahead of Rashford. Deserves the England team. Deserves being that left wing in the England team as well. He's been absolutely sensational for us, scoring, assisting. It's his hard work. He gets back. He tracks back. And he's been great. But the one thing that I think what's helped our which has helped us as well. And I'm so pleased Eddie Howe's done this change, because this is a change that I've been crying out for. Now, I've been sick of seeing the likes of Sean Longstaff starting games and Tonali being stuck on the bench, or Tonali playing, then getting thrown off and Sean Longstaff being brought on. And Sean Longstaff, let's be honest, he's not the next level player. He needs to be moved on. We've just given him a year's extension. That's just to cover ourselves with him being homegrown so we can make a bit of money. We know Everton are sniffing around for him. There's talk of a £12 million move, but that was before Moyes came in. So whether that happens still, I don't know. But we know Leeds United are interested as well if they get promoted. So the one thing that I liked about what Eddie Howe's done is he's tweaked Tonali's position. So Tonali is one of the best midfielders in Europe, let's be honest. When we got him from Milan for 55 million, I thought that was a snip. And I couldn't believe how cheap we got him. But I think that was down to the fact that Milan knew of these betting irregularities. And they must have thought, oh, well, Newcastle's offering the money. This is a great way of getting rid of him. And we haven't got to deal with a problem. So when he starts playing him in this deeper role, he's now picking these passes out. He breaks up the play, helps out the defence, breaks up the play, gets the ball going forward. Bruno's in the number 8 position now. He does all the creating side of it. Joe Linton's he's just absolutely brilliant in that midfield as well. Gordon on the wing. On the right-hand side, we've got Jacob Murphy, who I think is playing probably the best football of his life at the minute, because he's got no one to challenge him. Because Miggy Almiron's no challenger, and he's on his way out the club now, back to Atlanta United in America. But yeah, since he's made that tweak with Tonali, we've gone on this amazing run, and we look an even better team now. And then the fact that Sven Botman is back from his injury, and when Cher was out suspended, when Botman came back into that team, I think it was against Spurs, he looked immense, Botman. Although he did tire and got a bit of cramp towards the end of that game, which is natural because it's going to happen. But with Botman being back now, him and Dan Burn have got a great partnership there at the back now. Now that Cher could be fit again, I can't see Cher walking back into this team. He can't, because you can't break Botman and Burn up now. Dan Burn, now a lot of people say, oh, he's not the best player, but he's been absolutely terrific this season. You know, he's been an absolute rock at the back. And then we've got the full backs of Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, and they're flying. And they're the England future right and left backs for England in the years to come. You know, and Dubravka's come back into goal and played really well, done better than what Pope's been doing this season, let's be honest. I think Pope's been poor, if I'm honest. And that could be down to the fact that he had the shoulder injury again. And maybe he's a bit hesitant about diving in case he gets another injury. And I think that may just end his career. So... but yeah, Dubravka's been a breath of fresh air. It looks like he'll stay at the end of the season now, but I don't think he wants to sign a new deal. I think he wants to be off, wants one last payday. And who can blame him? 36 years of age, he probably wants to go and get a payday somewhere else. Maybe if it's Saudi or wherever he goes. But against Wolves, we showed Wolves what we're all about. They had chances to score though, Wolves. That's the thing. Before we even scored, they had chances. Hwang had a chance. Strand Lawson had one. But they didn't put them away. And we did. Yes, they scored in the second half, but it was ruled out for a handball. But yeah, I'm just happy with the way we're playing this football at the moment. It's absolutely brilliant. And I just can't believe the comments that come out of Karen Carney's mouth last night. You know, we know she's an Arsenal. She's an Arsenal women's legend or whatever she is. But look, I'm not going to go into being sexist or anything because that's not me. I'm not sexist. But I know a lot of people say the women shouldn't be involved in men's game and vice versa. But that's people's opinions at the end of the day. I don't go down that road. But what she said last night, it's just like, I was just blown away with what she said when she come out and said, oh, Newcastle wouldn't be where they were if it wasn't for Isak. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, hang on a minute. What about Tonali? What about Joe Linton? What about Bruno in the midfield?
And the point to that as well, Tony, is that how many games has Isak been out injured this year as well? You guys were still getting results playing Gordon, playing Barnes. I mean, Callum Wilson's a useless backup. He might as well just be Jack Wilshere of Newcastle, but he was a very good player. But you guys have got a lot of options in there. I think you're weak up front when Isak does go out, but a lot of your players did step up and all that. So I think it's a very scathing statement by her to say that if you guys didn't have Isak, I mean, it was like us when we had Kane. If he was out injured, we had no other option. So we had to rely on Son, Dele Alli and players like that. But you've got that in Gordon, Barnes, all of them. Yeah, your backup options are weaker than Isak, but you've got enough to keep going in probably 80% of your games, haven't you? Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you look at Isak, right, as a striker. He doesn't have to come too far back to get the ball because our midfielders are so far forward. Where if you watch the likes of Harry Kane, he has to come back because the midfield's so far back. But with us, because we play so far forward and Bruno's so far forward, Isak doesn't have to do as much work to come and get the ball. But for her to come out and say stuff like that, and Paul Scholes was there as well, and he turned around.
I'll chuck this on you though. Isaac has scored some massive, crucial goals this season. Like some goals where games you've been. I've watched a lot of your games, and you've been like not even like some of them. He scored from nowhere and kept you in the game. When I watched you against Chelsea, he was just out of the blue, and Isaac has scored some massive individual goals. Yeah. So he's been pivotal on you playing as good as you have. And I do think you've got some class players. I'm not saying like it's just an Isaac show, because there's more to a football team than the striker. But Isaac being as in form as he is, I've watched a lot of games where you've needed something and he's come up with something. And he's just been there in the right space, the right time. And he has been massive for you. To have a striker like that in that much form, like Spurs probably want that. I'd love that. Like it just it gets you points. Isaac, if you looked at your games, how many points Isaac's got you? He's got you a lot of points this season. A lot of points.
I mean, the thing is, we've got the Arsenal fans keep going on, they want to buy Isak and all this, but their club's already said they're not going to pay that sort of money for a player. But if you go back to when we first got Isak, Arsenal wanted him, but they were only prepared to pay Sociedad 50 million quid. And I remember Fabrizio Romano put out a tweet saying, here we go, Newcastle's all in line now to sign João Pedro from Watford. It's all being done. Medical will be the next day. And we were thinking, all right, okay, then fair enough. It's not really a great signing, but we'll see what you can do. But then that signing went quiet. Everything went quiet, and everybody was like, well, hang on, where's João Pedro? He's supposed to be coming in. And 48 hours later, we find out Dan Ashworth's come back on a private jet with Alexander Isak. Because what he did was, he went there and he said, right, he says, what's the release clause? He says, right, okay, we'll pay you 58 million plus 5 million add-ons. There you go. And Sociedad said, he's yours. And that was a blinder played by Dan Ashworth. He went over the top of Arsenal and stumped them. And that was twice we've took players from under the noses of Arsenal, because we've done that with Bruno as well. And remember, he came to us when we were in the bottom three, risking his career.
I remember speaking to someone in Spain at the time who was linked to the Isak deal, and they was like, everyone in Spain was mad, thinking, how the hell has Newcastle activated this release clause? Because no one in Spain was going to do it. Real weren't going to do it. Barcelona weren't going to do it because the banks wouldn't allow them to put it through. And then when Newcastle did do it, it's like, how has anyone paid this much money for him? He'd only had like a season and a half good sort of thing. So everyone was questioning it. And when you look back at it now, I mean, he's never looked back, has he, sort of thing, apart from the injuries that he does have susceptible to hamstring injuries and the odd foot injury. I mean, it's a no-brainer now. 65 million for a snippet like that.
When we was on this show, the good thing about this show, I remember being on it like a bit back, and John was on, and Newcastle was on a real bad patch. John wasn't happy with Newcastle at all. I think it was just before you played Chelsea, he was having really bad results, and even some Newcastle fans was like, "Get your manager out, Eddie Howe out." And I'd seen it, Eddie Howe out. You was fuming with his selection. There was loads of moaning from Newcastle fans. You was not happy. Anthony Gordon up front, you said, you was doing okay with him up front. I don't think you was as good with Anthony Gordon up front. I think when Anthony Gordon got to drop,
he's better as a left winger.
Yeah, he got to assist Isaac then and said, right, I can put it. And that was a good combination. Gordon and Isaac then lit you up. So I think you were struggling until Isaac come back, and he was pivotal on your good run. I think your centre midfielders wasn't playing that well, and now you've all clicked. And I did say to John, I said, I watched you against Chelsea, and I said to John, I was surprised how well Newcastle played against Chelsea when you drew. I said, you really did take it to them. And this doesn't get praised enough about Newcastle, and I'll put it out there. The best thing that I see about Newcastle is the manager, Eddie Howe, right? And because of where he's come from, everyone thinks he's crap because he come from Bournemouth or whatever. But watch how Newcastle play their tactics. They always press. They can go against Man City or anybody, all the top teams. You watch Newcastle, the manager gets the tactics where they'll always go for it. And they always press and they always go for it. So Eddie Howe doesn't get the credit. He's one of the cleverest managers you'll get, because Newcastle, they go for every game. They do. They attack every game and go for every game. And he's a crack. I couldn't believe when Newcastle fans was like against Eddie Howe. I was like, please sack him and Everton get him, please, because just because he was at Bournemouth at a lower club, people don't rate. They always judge him on that. But I'm telling you, he's a cracking manager. He really 100%. Is. Look at some of the Newcastle plays that he's got stuff out of. And no disrespect, even when you had to work your way up, he was getting Longstaff playing the class. He's brought the best out of Joe Linton, like you mentioned earlier on.
Jacob Murphy,
he gets
players.
Murphy. And I do believe now it's took him a little bit of a while, Eddie Howe, because he can't work wonders straight away. But you mentioned your left back and your right back, your full backs. I think that's pivotal on why you're playing so good now, because I think football now, if your left back and your right back's bombing it forward, it allows your wingers to just, like Gordon and that, to get close to your strikers. And it makes your game so much easier. If your left back and your right back are playing as wingers, you've got your wingers getting good chances to score goals. And Newcastle looks strong now. And I did say I said to John, don't worry, mate. The way you played against Chelsea, you will come strong. And it's not surprising that they have. So, yeah, the manager and the players, they're on a high.
No,
I mean,
cool.
Isak did say the other night that he said that, the reporter asked him about his time at Newcastle at the moment. And he said, the thing is, he says, yes, my game's gone up another level, he says, but that's down to Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe has told me where my game should be improving. He says, but as other parts of my game needs improvement, and Eddie Howe's going to help me with that as well. And that's the thing, for him to actually come out and say that, it's like, he understands where his game was, and he has improved since he's beaten Newcastle. He's just got to do better on his one-on-ones, but once he gets them sorted out, he'll be fine. And he could end up being top scorer this season.
100%.
No, of course. Right, let's move on. We're going to go to Ipswich now, and obviously two teams we've all been very highly full of praise for this year. Brighton did get a 2-0 win at Ipswich. So, Barney, if I can bring you in on this one, it seems to be that Brighton are getting a couple of results recently, and Ipswich's haven't been great, even though they did get a result against Chelsea a couple of weeks back. Can you talk me through this one, mate? Because it seems to be Ipswich are gradually falling back into the relegation zone now.
Yeah, I mean, what you say is they had a great result against Chelsea and a brilliant 2-2 draw against us. So on the back of those two, results, I thought, Ipswich turning a corner, but they seem to be getting back into old ways again. And I do fear for them. Of all the three teams, I'll say this now, I think they still stand a chance of staying up. Because I like the way they play. I like the manager. And I think Southampton are definitely doomed. I think Ipswich have got a bit of battle about them. Brighton, they're a team who are thereabouts. Again, a team run very well, great manager, good players, a little bit vulnerable sometimes at the back, I think. Lewis Dunk is, not as young as he used to be. He's prone to a few mistakes and two, but overall, I think it was a really good win for Brighton. They're ninth in the table now. Ipswich, they will be looking, painfully over their shoulders. I worry because the teams around them will start to pick up points. You never know with Leicester and Wolves. I think Everton will be fine. But, it's good goals by Brighton. Good away win. I think they could be outside chance for Europe. Definitely. I don't know what you think.
Yeah,
Barney, I was a little bit. Do you know what? Like, if I was just jumping on that, just quickly. After my match reaction after the game, I'm more scared. Like you say, Everton will be fine, but I'm a little bit scared this season. Like more scared than all the other relegation battles because
what team makes you fearful? I mean, what makes you scared?
I honestly do think that Southampton can win games, Ipswich can win games, and all the teams, even Leicester, we mention them like they are shocking, but they win games randomly, don't they? So Everton do need to start winning games. We do need to
against
start.
Spurs.
That's the problem.
Seem to be against
and
Spurs,
I've always
don't
said
they?
we'll be okay. Yeah, we need to beat you to get us going, but we would have been okay this season if Dyche didn't chuck a lot of games away by being too defensive and not seeing out 2-0s and stuff like that. But Dyche puts us in a little bit of a situation this season. And I know some people say, you can't just blame the manager, but you're 2-0 up. You've got to see it out to at least get a draw, not lose. So I'm a little bit worried this season, but if we start winning games, that worry will go. It's not easy.
No,
Ipswich this game. And on this game, I'll give a little review on this game. Ipswich, Brighton, I watched Brighton in the cup, and they was really good. Brighton have got a really good attacking team, but they haven't sorted out the centre-backs. I think next season when Brighton bring in someone to replace Dunk, they're going to be a cracking team, or Brighton are, but it's going to take them a while to gel, but they've got some proper good players. Yeah,
I agree, 100%.
Only a matter of time. That's why Ipswich probably lost, because Brighton are really good.
No, exactly. I mean, they're both teams that we've got high hopes for. And I mean, Delap was quiet in this game, but he has been very good for them. And João Pedro, who obviously was meant to go to Newcastle, has done very well for Brighton as well. So let's jump on to our last game of last week. So, Tony, if I can bring you in on this one, obviously Southampton take an early lead through a suspect own goal. Southampton still can't score a goal. It has to be from someone else's mistakes on this. But all the United fans were definitely getting a little bit irate. There was calls for Amarin's job to be on the line. There was calls for players to be shipped out the door. And then Amad Diallo steps up with probably one of the quickest hat-tricks in recent Premier League history in 12 minutes. I mean, and he's just signed a new deal this week. So talk me through what your thoughts are on this game, mate.
Yeah, I mean, look, Southampton, I mean, they were under the caution and they started playing well and had more possession than Man United at one point. They went ahead through and they got the own goal just before half time. And you're sort of thinking, wow, is this really going to happen? Could Southampton get that second win of the season? And it wasn't until the 82nd minute when it all kicked off and Diallo scored that hat-trick, But up until then, you just thought, what's going on here? Where's Man U going from this? This is going to, in some ways I was hoping they were going to get beat, actually, to be fair. I thought, this would be a great result if Man United lose this, It'll just be another dig at the United fans, the Man United fans. So, but look, obviously they turned it around, won a 3-1. But Anthony Hill they bought for 85 million. He's an absolute shocking player, isn't he? I mean, that sitter he missed from 2 yards, that should have been in the back of the net. Obviously, it was a highly inflated price for him at 85 million quid, where he came from in Holland, and they must be laughing their heads off saying, look, we got 85 million for him and he can't do it in the Premier League. Now he's probably not even worth 25 million quid. because there's not going to get anywhere near the money they paid for him, that's for sure. There'll be a huge loss on him. And this is the same player that when he's...
When Anthony was going to them for 85, that stopped us from getting Kudus. We was getting Kudus, who went to West Ham, and the deal was literally done where Kudus was going to come to Everton. But because Anthony went from the same team to Man United, they kept Kudus that season where we would have got him. So I was gutted on that.
Look, that I don't think Man U will finish in the European place this season. I don't think they will.
No.
I think that manager's probably going to ruin his reputation going there, let's be honest. You just look and think, why did you leave Sporting Lisbon to go there? And I think Southampton, as far as I'm concerned, they're relegated. I can't see where now they are going to stay up in the Premier League. Let's be honest. They've had one win all season. They've got 6 points on the board. And to be fair, there's 20-odd games gone, 20 games now, isn't it? So, look, 18 games to go or whatever it is. And where they're going to... They need to pick up at least, another 6 or 7 wins. And where they're going to come from, I can't see where they're going to get them wins from. So, even if you're talking 10 wins keeps you in the Premier League, where they're going to get another 9 wins, because I can't see anywhere they're going to get them 9 wins. They look atrocious, and it looks like they'll go straight back down to the Championship. So I think the teams now are just battling it out for second and third bottom, because I think Southampton's finished. They're gone. They may pick up the odd win or two somewhere along the line. Where that win or two will come from, I haven't got a clue. But as far as I'm concerned, they're relegated. I know people might say, well, you can't say they're relegated now because, there's still a long way to go. But if you look at that form, 1 win in 20 games, where's our next win coming from? And you fear for them, don't you?
Of course, mate.
Probably us again.
Yeah, well...
probably Charity Everton. We'll probably let them win again. I don't even take me back to that game. Oh.
Exactly. It's either that or Spurs will give them a win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We seem to like doing that for everyone else. But no, obviously, Tony, I know you've got to go. So I want to just give you your chance to give us your prediction on this one, mate. So obviously, Newcastle, Bournemouth tomorrow. I think, is it the early kickoff you guys have got? So
yeah.
What are you thinking for this one?
It's going to be a tough game because Bournemouth have played well this season, let's be honest. They're on fire. Semenyo's playing well. The whole team's playing well, technically. So it'll be a tough game. But I fancy us to win this game. I'm going to say we'll win it 2-1.
Okie. No, that's great, mate. So obviously, thanks for coming on tonight, Tone. So where can everyone find you and your content?
Yeah, obviously I've got my old studio up at the moment, but the channel name's down there. It's the Footy Channel Groundhopper. So it did used to be called It's All Black and White TV, but I had to change it because there was too many Newcastle channels. So I just wanted to take the channel in different directions as well. So I do a lot of content going around the grounds, like non-league or lower leagues. So I've been like Colchester, places like that, Cambridge City, Ipswich Wanderers. So so do check out the channel and go and have a look at the match vlogs I've got on there. I've got some good ones on there as well. I will be going to another non-league game this weekend as well. Get some cracking games at non-league, let's be honest, and the atmosphere is totally different as well. It's all more chilled out as well. That's where you can find me on there as well. And I'm close to 1,300 subscribers, so not too far away now. About 7 away. Thank you for having me on, guys, and Kallum. Yeah, thank you.
Cheers as always, Tony. So we will see you again this season, I'm sure. So thanks
absolutely.
very much for that.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Right, so Dan and Barney, let's just get a score prediction from both of you on this one. So Dan, can you go first? So obviously we've got Tony's 2-1. So what are you thinking on this one, mate?
I think Newcastle will win 3-1. I'm going to go for Yeah, 3-1. But like we said, Bournemouth.
Yeah,
You just don't know, do you? You just think Newcastle should win, but
they can do anyone on anyone's day.
Yeah, we always underestimate Bournemouth. I always look at Bournemouth and think, but I think Newcastle, they're on a high, though, ain't they? They'll be strong for Bournemouth this game.
Fair enough. And Barney, what are your score prediction for this one, mate?
Yeah, I'm the same. You never know with Bournemouth. They can turn up and give a good game to anyone. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I'm going to go for Newcastle 3-2.
3-2 from you. And David Clark's gone with Dan with a 3-1. So we're definitely predicting goals. So if you're a neutral, go and check it out because it is the early kickoff, and I think that's either on TNT or Sky Sports. I'm not sure on that one, but I'm sure someone will find it somewhere or other. I've jumped a game. We will go Brentford versus Dan's no-go team that we can say here. I'm going to give a prediction on this one in place of Tony. I reckon Brentford could do another surprise here and potentially get a 2-2 draw as well, because Liverpool are definitely stagnating a little bit in the last couple of weeks. So, Barney, what are your predictions for this one, mate, and your thoughts?
Brentford are brilliant at home. Liverpool are top for a reason. They're the best side in the league, and I can see a surprise here. You might be shocked at this prediction, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford win.
Ooh, okay. Dan, I know you'd obviously love a Brentford win, and you'd love to see any of your mates that do wear red colours. If you do have any mates who are Reds, okay, well, I'll scrap that last statement. You will love to see Liverpool lose here. So, I mean, are you going to back Barney's prediction of a 2-1 Brentford win, or are you thinking the other way around?
I think it's going to be 1-1, and I do want Brentford to win, but there's a lot of teams I've got in my head that are going to beat Liverpool this season to stop them winning the title, but Brentford aren't one of them. But I think a draw is another 2 points lost from Liverpool if Brentford can get a draw, and I think that'd be a good result from them. So I'm trying to get these result predictions right because I like to have a look back on what I go for. So I'm going to go for 1-1, but I'd prefer Barney's, by the way. Barney's all the way, please.
Fully appreciate that, mate. Obviously, David Clark has shit in your cereal, Dan, and he's gone for a 2-1 Liverpool win.
We agreed on the first, not on the second.
We can keep going. We'll keep going. We will get there eventually. Barney, obviously, I know you're going to want to predict this one. I will go first again on it. I'm thinking it's got to be a Fulham 3-1 win here. I think you guys will definitely have too much about you. But like Dan said earlier, Leicester could get something out of it. So what's your score prediction for this one, mate?
I've said many times to you, Kallum, and to both of you, it depends which Fulham turn up. I want to see an angry response after the West Ham game. We don't keep clean sheets. That's something we don't necessarily do for whatever reason. 2-1 Fulham.
2-1 Fulham. Dan, give me yours, and then I'll go for David Clark's after that, mate.
It's crazy because Everton, I didn't want to have to do it this season, but we're already Everton fans had to. Do you know when we lost our game? Mm-hmm. Luckily, all the teams at the bottom lost, so we didn't pay for it. Do you know what I mean? Like we got away with it because we're back there looking at teams around us, and all the teams lost that we've just gone through earlier on at the bottom. So Everton got away with it. I do believe that this is going to be close, and I don't even know why, because I do rate Fulham this season, but no, do you know what? Bugger it. I'm going to go 3-0 Fulham. I hope you smash them because I need to think of Everton here. 3-0 Fulham.
I like that.
The reason I said that is because it can be one of those shite games that just don't go Fulham's way, can't it? You never know. Yeah, it can be that. That's what's worrying.
Yeah.
To be honest, David
Clark. Yeah, David is proper shitting your cereal now, Barney, and all that.
No, I can see where. Yeah, it's true.
No, that's fair. This one I think is going to be a cracking game. I don't know what it is. Just something about this is telling me that Potter and Glasner's styles are very similar in the way that they can set up in terms of how Potter was at Brighton with his sort of fullbacks going like that, and Glasner's aim is to do it. So I think this one could be. I'm going to go 2-2 with this one. I think it's got goals in it. I think this one's got something about it. So, Dan, I'll come to you on this one.
When you said that, I was in my head. I said 2-2, and when you said that, you literally said the same score I was thinking. That was what I was thinking.
From a neutral point of view, this has got quite a good feel to it, I think, to be honest. And if it was on TV, I'd watch
goals,
it.
Yeah, it's 50-50 goals, and I think it could be like one goes ahead, one comes back, one goes ahead, one comes back. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be a simple 2-0 end up 2-2. I think it'll be a twister. You think of it as and then you think of it the other end, Kudus. It's got potential to be a really good game.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And Barney, what your thoughts on this one, mate?
Straight away, I agree with you guys. It's going to be one of those games, so I'm going for 1-1.
1-1. Okie dokie. David, what's David gone for? Don't forget, I married a Leicester girl and 2 of my sons are Leicester City fans, season ticket holders. Fair enough. Yep, he's definitely got to keep it quiet. If not, he'll be sleeping in the spare room or on the sofa for the next couple of weeks for that. But gone for a 2-1 Palace win. Maybe Palace could do it. You never know. So let's jump on to our next one. This one is Arsenal with Arteta versus their old manager in Emery at the Emirates. Somehow they always seem to scrape something at the Emirates unless you're Everton and you can go there and actually get a decent result against them, to be fair. So I'm going to go for, I think, 3-2 Arsenal on this one. Dan, what are you thinking?
Like I say, Aston Villa against us, they'll turn up this game. It'll be a big game, won't it? 1-1, I'm going to go for, I just think Aston Villa, they don't play well sometimes, but they'll turn up this game and make it hard for Arsenal. Arsenal just keep bottling it, don't they, on big games? I don't know why. I want them to crack on and stop Liverpool, but they don't.
They always fall short, and then they do get results against Spurs, but I think everyone does. So that one I can't really say much about. Obviously, David Clark's gone Arsenal 2, Villa 1. Barney, you thinking draw? You thinking win for Villa or win for Arsenal, mate?
I think Arsenal just have enough being at home, so I'm going with David 2 for 2-1 Arsenal.
Okie dokie. Here we go. Dan, we're going for a fight.
Tricky.
Let's go. I think, Dan, I'll let you go first on this one, mate. What are you thinking in terms of scoreline here?
Well, you've got to remember last time we played you battered us, didn't you? But I feel that you've declined a little bit this season since, so it doesn't mean nothing, does it? But
no, exactly.
I'm scared of this game. I think you're scared of it, and I think you're scared of it because you don't like playing a team that's not in form,
and we don't have players.
Yeah, and you don't have players, and I'm scared of it because Spurs, they're not as. I know you have got a lot of injuries, but you still got some decent players. As I mentioned, you 2 young kids that have come in and playing cracking. And you still got a very strong. You've beat some big teams with. I did say to you that when we had the conversation about you playing Liverpool. You didn't beat Liverpool, but you did smash it in a couple of games after that with players out. And I did say that to you, that some of the young players would step up, which in a way, I know Tottenham fans want you to smash it this season and you want success quick. But I think to see some, out of all this crap that you've had this season, injuries and stuff, to see some young players look good is a big positive for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for, we need to win. I'm always Everton win, but this isn't an easy game, This really isn't an easy game. I'm going to go for 2-1 Everton, but we always have good games, Spurs and Everton. There's been some thrillers in the past, haven't there? A lot of goals, especially in the cup. This ain't
was
cup,
that 9-goal goal thriller, wasn't it? You beat us 5-4 in the last bit, didn't you? So
what a game that was.
I definitely think there's goals in it. I mean, David Clark's gone 2-0 Spurs. So he had to back Spurs. Come on. So I mean, I've got to be honest. I've got to back. I've got to back Spurs and all that. So I'm going to go 3-2 for that. I think you guys will get a couple of set-piece goals against us because we can't defend for a barn door, but we could score some against you depending on if you go back 4 or actually play back 3, like how you said that you did the other day. Barney, what's your score prediction for this one, mate?
I've always liked Everton Spurs games. I've watched quite a few over the years. This is really tricky. I generally don't know. I don't think there's going to be any goals in it.
Go against one of us here.
I think Pickford's one of the best goalies in the Premier League on his day. I think he'll be busy. I think both goalies will concede. You know what? 1-1.
1-1. Okie dokie. Definitely we need points, one team or another, let's put it that way. So let's go to Old Trafford, and this one has got a good feel about it. I think that Brighton have got enough about them to go and put Man United to the sword. So I'm going to go, I think 3-0 Brighton. I think that United are... I think it's got to go to Brighton for this one. So Dan, I'll give you a little bit more time to think of your prediction if I've just nicked yours. So Barney, what are you thinking?
If Southampton, Manchester United turn up, well, it could be embarrassing for United. I think Brighton might have too much, so I'm going for 2-1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton. David Clark's gone 2-1 Brighton as well. So Dan, what you think?
Mine wasn't the same. It's just that you went big and I was shocked. But mine's actually, I think 2-2. I would normally say Brighton, but I just think that Brighton's defence is it can be got at by Man. I think both have got shite defences, so it could be a little bit of a good attack. Both teams, shite defence, 2-2.
No, I fully appreciate that, mate. I think this one has got a given that it'll be title contenders versus relegation sitting there high and proud. I've got to go 4-0 Forest. I think they've got enough about them to do this one. So, Dan, what are you thinking here, mate?
Forest. I'll go Forest, but I don't think Southampton are as bad as. That's because we got beat by him, I suppose. I don't know, but I think I watched Sulemana against Man U, and he had a lot of chances, and I honestly do believe that they probably should. If it wasn't for the hat trick, they could have got something against Man U. They wasn't far away, so I do believe Southampton are playing better. So, and they've got a good striker as well. That young kid's a good striker for them. He's decent. I forgot his name.
Is it Archer? Or
Archie, no? He's a good young kid here. So they have got a few decent players. I'm going to go for 1-1. And I want Forest to win, by the way, because I want Forest to compete to win the league. But I think 1-1 here.
No, that's fair. Barney, what are you thinking on this one, mate?
I think Forest's defence will be too good for them, and they'll just pick them off. So I'm going 2-0 Forest.
2-0 Forest. David Clark's gone 3-0 Forest, and Dan's gone 1-1.
Probably should I?
Well, you got to stick.
I'm trying to get them right. I'm actually trying to get the predictions right. I want it to be what you lot have gone for because I need these bottom teams to start losing. But Southampton won't bad against Man U.
No, that's fair enough. Obviously, Ipswich versus Man City. I don't know whether City are going to have any of their new players in by then and registered, to be honest. So it's going to be probably... I'd like Ipswich to do something here. I'd like to see them get a scalp, but I think that City will probably have too much. So I'm going to go 3-1 City on this one. Barney, what are you thinking?
I think just Ipswich leaked too many goals, to be honest. So I'm 3-1 City.
3-1 City. Dan?
What did you think of the Haaland, all the grief he got today for the 500k a week? 500k a week.
500k and what, 10-year contracts, weren't it?
My days. If I could just have 1 week of his... just give me his wage, 1 week of his wage, and I'll be like...
Just give me a day of his wage.
Yeah. Go and buy it. 1 week of his wage, I could literally take 200 grand, go buy 200 grand house instead of renting, sorted, 300 grand to live on, invest the 300 grand on businesses. I'd be sorted with just 1 week of Haaland's wage. It makes you sick, doesn't it?
But Barney, I forgot how cheap up north was and all that. Try doing that down here, Dan. 500 grand to get you for a week, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Trust me, I know what this flat I'm in now costs. It's nuts. Costing Twickenham is bonkers.
I've seen the prices in London, absolutely ridiculous. No different, you know what I mean? But no, Haaland signed the contract, and he's got a lot of grief because everyone's. I don't know why. All of a sudden, people think Haaland's crap. Though I think they forget what he did the season before.
He's still top.
I know
top
Piers Morgan like coming out saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be bragging and all that, and you're only good like." You wouldn't be good in a shite team. But we've watched Haaland for his country, and he's insane. We watched him for Dortmund. He's saying, I just think Man City they've kept the ball away from Haaland this season. But Haaland would walk into Arsenal's team and score loads of goals. So for him to get a lot of stick, and Piers Morgan basically to say he shouldn't be giving it large. I think Haaland next season, when City sort themselves out, will be the top goal scorer again. I don't think I can't believe how much people are writing off Haaland after scoring. He was scoring hat tricks each game, and you were starting to think 4 goals. He was scoring 4. He's nearly scoring 2 hat tricks. No other player has done that. That player's not gone. It's just that Man City have been awful this season. So I can't believe how much stick Haaland's got. I do believe that after Haaland signed his contract, there was a point behind that. I do believe after he signed his contract, we're going to see a hat trick from Haaland, and we'll see Manchester City back to themselves winning 5-0 here because Ipswich's defence isn't that good. And I think Man City will win 5-0.
No, that's fair.
It sounds mad, but it isn't, though, is it? It sounds like it's mad 5-0, but they should beat Ipswich 5-0.
I mean, my only fault is that I do think Ipswich do have the odd goal in them, and they did.
Yeah, Delap. Yeah.
Last time when they played, so Smodic, Delap, Hutchinson. I think their front line's pretty decent. They're like mid-table sort of quality going forward. It's just that I do think that Haaland's got that sort of level with him that he'll put Ipswich to the sword. I mean, obviously David Clark's gone for 3-0 as well. So I think there's definitely going to be an upset here for Ipswich, unfortunately, because they are one of my local teams. So I will support them as much as I can. Right, final game of the weekend. Stamford Bridge. Wolves go there. It will be the return of Pedro Neto to Wolves as well. Well, at least playing against his old team. I think Chelsea probably do have just a little bit more about them to put Wolves to the nails. So I'm going to go for... I'm going to go 3-1 here, Chelsea. I think Cunha will probably get a goal if he starts, but I think that's probably about it for Wolves out of this one. Dan, what are you thinking here?
I think Chelsea will beat Wolves. I think Wolves, this transfer window, will sign some defenders, which will make them a lot better because Wolves have got good attackers, but they need defenders badly. Mm-hmm. I think if they get defenders, they'll be better than what people think because that's what they need to sort them out. So at the minute, they haven't got those players. So I do believe Chelsea will win, probably 3-1. That's the scoreline I'm going to go 3-1. But I think Wolves will, where some people say to me, Everton, don't worry, Wolves are not that good. I do think Wolves will step up. It's not going to be as easy as we think.
Yeah, they've got residual value sitting there from players that they have sold. And now that PSR's been all sorted out, I think they should be all right as long as they don't overspend on stuff. They've already got one defender in from, I think, it's either Stade Rennes or RC Lens. So
they changed that PSR, to what we had. It's not the same. They've just let everyone off. They did something to Everton and Nottingham Forest where they knew they couldn't afford to do it. Like they hit us with PSR that they knew if they hit everyone with it. So it's mad because they went with Forest and Everton at PSR and they created all these rules. And I believe they've taken that away. And that's why everybody's passed PSR this season and is okay because they thought, you know what, we can't do what we did to Everton. So they mistreated us. And then the rules this season haven't been applied the same with PSR, I don't think at all.
No, I appreciate that, mate. I do appreciate that. Definitely a topic to look at, see when the official report for PSR comes out in the next couple of weeks on the ruling that they have made. Barney, what are you thinking on this one, mate?
Defensively, I think I agree with Dan. If the Wolves' defence is sorted in the transfer window, they could be a bit more sort of harder to play against. But, you've got Cole Palmer, who I think will probably score a couple. Cunha, if he starts, I agree with you. So I'm going 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea. No, that's fair. David Clark's gone 3-1 Chelsea. The same with me and Dan. Dan, David Clark's gone for Spurs ladies versus Everton ladies as well, 2-1. I don't know whether you do much with
What a
the
fan he is,
Everton ladies team and all that. So
we don't do much on the channel with them, but they are decent. They are decent. We have that much on with what we've got, but yeah, we probably should cover a little bit sometimes.
Well, there we go. Maybe an idea.
His football knowledge is good, isn't it? You know what I mean? He's even giving the women's predictions.
Oh no, David's very good as a fan for us. He's even put me right on some of my youth statistics for Spurs and all that. I mean, at the moment, I'm doing a football podcast with a couple of scouts from Belgium and Germany and all that on the Spurs Academy and the Spurs Legacy stuff. So it's been interesting that when that does come out, I'm sure people will rip me apart for that one way or another. But it's going to be about a 4-hour podcast and all that across 2 episodes. So it'll be very good. But no, obviously, thank you very much to everyone for tuning in this week. It has been a wonderful show as always with some brilliant guests. Obviously, we said goodbye to Louis and Tony already tonight, but I think the 2 remaining survivors who have put up with me for two hours, 1 minute at present, even if he did turn up late in Danny Boy in the green room, but we'll forgive that because me and him haven't come to our boxing match yet for the night. But obviously, Barney, thank you very much, as always, for coming on, mate. Where can everyone find you?
It's a pleasure, Kallum. And you too, Dan. Great to chat to you both. You can find me on X, Twitter, at Ambrose Barnaby, as always. A special mention to Harry. Thanks, mate, for inviting me onto your podcast, as always. Big up to you. And looking forward to doing this again very soon.
Wonderful stuff. And Dan, obviously, becoming a regular on with myself and Barney this year, mate. So it has been a pleasure, as always. So where can everyone find you and your content for Everton?
So it's just we do a Toffee Blue cast on X, and then we've got a Toffee Blue cast on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel. We've got like 5,000 subscribers or something, like 5,300 and something. And we always, what I will say is we always get, obviously tomorrow, I'll need a Tottenham fan. We always get an opposition fan on before we play them. So where some people think, oh, I won't subscribe because it's an Everton channel. When we play your team, we will have one of your fans on. So you'll get to hear your team when we play you. So we like people to subscribe from whatever team they should. We want to hit everyone, basically, a big audience to make it a good football channel, a Toff Bluecast. And I've got Paul that does the channel with me. Me and Paul do the Toff Bluecast. So Toffee Bluecast, get over there, hit that like and subscribe, as we all say, and get behind it. And thanks, Harry, for inviting. Harry's a cracking guy, isn't he? You know what I mean? And to be fair, I don't ever get Harry on. I just get Kallum, so I can't even say Harry's a cracking guy because Kallum's my new tag team partner. We didn't even give it large on this show because it's mad that me and Kallum have had so many debates and beef and argument on the channel. But the one time we're on it and we're against each other, we're both deflated from our teams and can't even go head to head with the big I ams, can we?
Oh, tell me about it, mate. What Spurs fan have you got on tomorrow on the channel, mate? So you can.
I don't know yet. I was going to ask Harry or yourself or someone else. I'll do a pre-match. I normally do it the night before the game. So tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I'll be doing it.
No, that sounds great, mate. Obviously, I will be. I'm sure me and you'll be having a slagging match on Twitter at some point over the weekend. But it's all fun and banter at the end of the day. Obviously, a big up to Harry for Scarfey Spurs Talks and Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast as always. So anyone who wants to reach out, speak to Harry, drop him a message. You can see all of his content on his daily match day vlogs. You can see also his updates on team news for Spurs. You can see his Spurs show on a Monday night at 7:30 to 7:45, depending on what time all of us as guests turn up, which is always a fun one. You can usually check out the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast with myself and Louis as hosts on a Wednesday. It's only been a Friday because it's clashed with a couple of fixtures in the last couple of weeks. But obviously, like and subscribe on X, on Facebook. I don't know whether Harry has Blue Sky. That's something you'll have to go and ask him yourselves. But obviously, thank you very much to H as always.
Can I just say one last thing before I go?
Of course, mate.
David Moyes, Davy Moyes. He's got grey hair and we don't care. Davy Moyes. He's back.
Well, let's
Davy
put
Moyes.
this.
I want him to be happy.
Let's put it this way, Dan. Don't go on Britain's Got Talent. Stick to your day job, mate.
I'm a better speaker than a singer. My partner's already told me that when I'm in the shower.
Well,
But we love it.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. It gets us through the day. And if anyone wants to check out any of my content, I am on Park Lane Podcasts most Sundays. You can check me out on obviously Harry's channel, on the regular Spurs chat, and obviously on the Premier League podcast. I am doing another recording for my youth and Spurs overview on Monday night as well. So we will be most likely releasing the first part next Thursday and then the following part the Thursday after. That's in collaboration with Football Talent Scout. I've done it with Harry's and my own podcast backing, so that would be great. So if anyone wants to go and check me out, it's Kallum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. But obviously, thank you very much as always from everyone, and have a good evening, guys.